Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Tired Mommy Revival podcast, season 2. It has been a long 7 weeks, and I am so excited to be back with you. I know I said when we took this break it was going to be 6 weeks, but as I'm going to tell you about today, God really turned this year upside down for me when He gave me a word for this year. And it took me a minute to readjust and to really absorb what He was saying and to honestly to be okay with it. And I am going to talk a little bit about that today. We are also going to talk about New Year's resolutions in a totally non-cheesy way, I promise you. And we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect in this upcoming season because God has something planned. And even though I don't quite know the half of it, we have a lot of really good stuff coming up even within the next month. We are going to be talking about everything that the world is talking about right now in health and wellness, but we are going to turn it upside down, flip the script, and tackle it from a whole new direction so that we can see it God's way and not the world's way, so that we can get clarity about our health and cut through the fog of confusion that the world's way of health and wellness tends to leave us in. And so I'm super excited to dig into all of that with you. But before we get started on the main part of today's conversation, let's get caught up a little bit. I don't know about you, but December was traditionally, unapologetically busy. If you listen to the episode at the end of last season about peace, you know that there are so many things that I have cut out of December, things that I have let go and surrendered and laid at the altar at God's feet and said, okay, I'm going to give this up and I'm going to do it your way, Lord. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to focus on presence. And I was able to do that a little bit, but life has a way of really wrapping us up in December, no matter how hard we try to slow down. And so I definitely got that at the end of the month, but let me tell you, December was full of a lot of hustle and it was good. It was really, really good. My son had some school performances for band, which were really enjoyable. We got to spend time with family and host dinner. We had early birthday celebrations for me because if my birthday is 3 days before Christmas, and if we wait that long, it just doesn't happen. And we had a really big family project, which I say family project, it was mostly my husband's project, but we did come together as a family and help at the end of it, which was building my older son brand new furniture for his bedroom. My husband is a trim carpenter and he does amazing work. He does everything from baseboards and installing doors to beams, boot benches, cabinets, any kind of fancy wall work that you can imagine, all of those things. He does all of that, but he also has a little bit of experience building furniture. And so he built a bedroom set for our son. He's 13 years old and we decided it was time to get rid of his loft bed and kind of update his style in his room. That was his big Christmas gift and he absolutely loved it. The furniture is so gorgeous and I am totally jealous, and now I want to replace my bedroom furniture with something that my husband builds. But also it was so much work that we are in no hurry to try to start up a project like that again. But in the future, it's definitely on the list. So all of it was really wonderful and great and such a blessing, but it also meant that we were really busy. And suffice it to say that after all of the holidays calmed down, we got to rest a little bit and enter into January. And I know in years past, I have felt like January is a little bit depressing. It feels so slow and empty. It feels like all of the things that brought us joy last month just kind of melt away and we just have cold, dark days that are really sad. But over the past couple years, I've really felt this renewed sense in January that just brings with it this sense of freshness, like a fresh start, a fresh calendar. fresh opportunities for the new year. And I want to talk about New Year's resolutions with you today, okay? New Year's resolutions get such a bad rap. In fact, they're quintessentially connected with failure. I mean, we say we're making New Year's resolutions, but we know in our heart that most of the time they'll never really come true. That's because everyone kind of fails by design with their New Year's resolutions. And so it feels like we get permission to fail without judgment from others or even ourselves. In January, we set really big goals and we get super excited and we buy the yoga pants so that we can go work out. And by February, we're all eating ice cream in our yoga pants. They're not for working out. We've already abandoned that idea. We're now just using them as our stretchy pants to go back to those habits that we thought we would get away from. And because this has kind of become a standard thing in our culture, New Year's resolutions can actually become really dangerous because they create distrust with ourselves. Yes, we have to learn to trust ourselves. I want you to pause and think about that a moment and think, do I really trust myself? When I make a resolution or when I say I want to do something and I set a goal and I say it out loud, either to myself or to somebody else, do I really trust that I'm going to follow through with what I said I'm going to do? I want to challenge you in that. Do you trust yourself to do what you said you would do? Resolutions are really not about other people believing us. It's really about that internal part of us that says, if I say I'm going to do something, I know that I'm going to do it. And New Year's resolutions set us up for failure because we expect that everybody's going to set a New Year's resolution. And then we expect that within a month or two, everybody's going to fail at those. And it's just normal and it's expected and nobody's going to judge you. And it's just how it is. This can become a huge barrier to not only our goals and reaching our desires, but ultimately to achieving the things that God is speaking into our heart. January is a quiet place. It's a chance to press the reset button. It's a chance to get reflective and quiet and lean into God and say, God, what would you have for me this year? If we're taking time to get quiet, to lean into God, to uncover the dreams that are in our heart, to understand the desires that God has for us as we move forward in this life, to get intentional about what this new year looks like, it is important for us to have trust built with ourselves so that when we set those goals that we can move into all that God has for us without abandoning those hopes, dreams, and desires before they even come into fruition. Building trust with ourselves also produces a level of hope inside of us. And it produces a level of faith too that rises above things that feel discouraging. It's hope that, yes, I believe that things can get better and I believe that I can do something about it. Maybe I can't change my whole circumstance and maybe I certainly can't do it overnight, but with God's help, I can do all things. And it strengthens our faith that God can carry us into something new, but also faith in ourselves that we have the discipline to see it through. Without this hope and faith in a better future, New Year's can feel very discouraging. It can feel like, why hope? Why dream? Why even try? Because I've done this before. Every year I think of something new because it feels like it's what I'm supposed to do. I buy the new shoes, I buy the new workout pants, and I sign up for the subscription to the gym, and I don't actually go. I've wasted all this money, all this effort, and nothing ever really changes. I've tried the diet and I didn't lose weight. I've tried to get up and read my Bible, but I couldn't drag myself out of bed. Why even try if I know it's not really going to happen? And so today we're going to talk about how to build trust with yourself, how to redefine the ways that you see maybe a New Year's resolution, but really any resolution at all, and how to build your discipline in a sustainable, biblical way that will build hope and faith in your life this next year. Because, Mama, you deserve not to be let down. I see you showing up like a boss, like super mom to everybody in your life. And this is the year where you deserve to show up for you too. So let's talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions. Over the past couple years, I have really started to redefine how I view New Year's resolutions. I started to build trust with myself by doing a few key things. But one of the things I started to do is I started to redefine a New Year's resolution. I said there's no more New Year's resolution. It's simply a resolution. If I make a promise to myself and if I set a goal, then I am going to do it regardless of when it happens. And I feel like this is really important because there's nothing really special about a New Year's resolution. If you are going to make a promise to yourself, then you need to learn to follow through regardless of when that happens. And if you don't have a resolution on January 1st, it doesn't matter. You can set one in February. You can set one in May. You can set one in September when your kids go back to school. It really doesn't matter. There's nothing special about a New Year's resolution. So we kind of need to debunk that idea of a New Year's resolution holds some kind of weight because we know culturally that it really doesn't. It has that undertone of failure as an overarching theme. And so kind of getting rid of the idea of a New Year's resolution can actually be really healing. There's nothing really special or unique about it. If you're going to set a resolution, then do it for yourself because this is what you're truly ready for and not just because it's the beginning of a new year. The next way you can redefine your resolution is start small. The world has this idea that you need to go big or go home. And honestly, this is why people burn out. This is why New Year's resolutions are uniquely categorized by failure because people go too big. We just came out of a month that was marked by stress and sugar. And now we're going to abandon all sugar, which don't get me wrong, I'm tired of it too. But we swing from like one side of the pendulum all the way to the other side. We haven't worked out in like 3 years since we gave birth to our last child, but now we're going to go full like beast mode and work out so hard that we can't even move our body the next day. And then we can't build consistency because we went too hard. And then we actually struggle even more. Starting small. If you haven't heard me talk about this, let me tell you, it is one of my life's mottos. Start small, okay? There is a faith perspective to this, and there is a science perspective to this too. It is literally a brain hack to start small. Consistency is wildly more important than doing something big. Consistency is so much more impactful and effective in reaching your goals than going big. Sometimes going big can literally be the thing that destroys you. When we think about starting small, it can feel so depressing because we like big showy things. And I know this because everywhere you look, culture is trying to communicate that you can cut corners, you can get there faster, you can skip ahead. You can boost your results. You can do it in half the time. You can lose the weight super fast. Like everything is big and fast and go, go, go and more, more, more. Everything in our society communicates go big or go home. Everything that's being advertised to us and slowly coming into our brain in little nuggets throughout the day in multiple ways. It's what we see in the grocery stores. It's what we see on commercials. Everything is saying, if you just do it like this, you can have your results fast. And so starting small seems depressing, but starting small is important. Starting small is important scientifically because your brain will fight you to make change when it's too big. In our brain, we have highways, and these highways are like our thought patterns that our brain travels down over and over, okay? Super highways are like super easy to do. If there's something that we do every single day, a highway gets created in our brain, and that is like the default road that our brain is going to take when we're not being really intentional. When we're just on autopilot, that's the thing our brain will do over and over and over. I can tell you, in my brain, there is a highway that says when I wake up, I go straight to the coffee. I don't have to think about that. In fact, I barely think in the morning. I'm like, I just move my body in this direction straight to the coffee. That's what happens. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to plan it. I don't have to be intentional about it. It's just what my brain does because I've created a superhighway that says that's what I do. If I turn off my alarm clock every single day in order to snooze it, to stay in bed, and I don't get up when I say I was going to, I will create a highway in my brain that says, we don't take this alarm clock seriously. We don't really want to get up. We don't really have any intention of doing what we said we were going to do last night when we made plans for this morning. We are just going to turn this thing off and go back to sleep. And so if we want to change the way that our brain is wired, we have to do that little by little. If I have a hard time getting up at 6 a.m. every day, I don't automatically just say, oh, now I'm going to set my alarm for 4 a.m. and now I get up at 4 a.m. every day. I know that's not going to happen. If I have trouble getting up at 6 a.m., I can't make this big giant leap to now getting up at 4 a.m. just because it sounds like a good idea. It sounds really impressive for me to get on social media and say, I have this huge goal. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. every day and I'm going to work out for an hour and I'm going to shower and I'm going to read my Bible before my kids get up. That's not going to happen. That's too big of a leap. I'm setting myself up for failure by creating too big of a goal. And so if I want to start getting up earlier, but I'm already having a hard time getting up at 6 a.m., I might set my alarm clock for 5:59 a.m. In fact, my husband literally just recommended I do this the other day. He's like, help yourself. He's like, when you wake up in the morning, you will see 5 as the hour. You'll see that you're getting up at 5. It's only 1 minute earlier than when you usually get up, but you'll start to see 5. And maybe one day you can wake up at 5:30 instead of 6. And you know what? As unimpressive as that sounds, I mean, if I go on social media and I say, I'm going to wake up 1 minute earlier than I have been, yay, that's my New Year's resolution. That sounds stupid. Right? It sounds so ridiculous. It sounds like people are going to laugh at me. It does not sound like a big, awesome, impressive thing that I get to share to everybody I know. No, it doesn't sound impressive, but it is the thing that will actually help you build towards something sustainable. It is the thing that will help you reach success. It is the thing that will help rewire your brain slowly and consistently to build a new highway so that one day you can reach that big goal. It's okay to have a big goal, but it's important to have small steps to actually get there. If we just try to make the big leap, we're going to suffer a lot for a little bit, and then eventually we'll get so tired of working so hard to make the leap, to make that big, giant goal, that we'll burn out and we'll give up altogether. But if we allow ourselves to set tiny little goals that are unimpressive and they're almost offensive to our ego, they are so small that they are embarrassing, that they are unimpressive, and we don't want to even share them with anybody because they're not exciting. If we make tiny little steps like that and we stay consistent with them and we do it over and over, and then we push it back, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, until one day, instead of waking up at 6 a.m., we're waking up at 5 a.m. And that may look different for you. You may want to get in shape. You may want to lose weight. You may want to build muscle. Whatever the thing is that you want to do this year, going too big will literally sabotage your goals. It will create distrust with yourself. It will create a sense of hopelessness that you can't really do the things that you set out to do, but it's not your fault. Culture is setting you up for failure by communicating that you need to do something big. God says you need to do something small. Let's take a look at the Bible where it gives us an example of this. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Money that comes easily disappears quickly, but money that is gathered little by little will grow." Another version says, "Wealth quickly gained is quickly wasted. Easy come, easy go. But if you gradually gain wealth, you will watch it grow. When hope's dream seems to drag on and on, the delay can be depressing. But when at last your dream comes true, life's sweetness will satisfy your soul. Despise the word, then you'll pay the price and it won't be pretty. But the one who honors the Father's holy instructions will be rewarded. When the lovers of God teach you truth, a fountain of life opens up within you, and their wise instruction will deliver you from the ways of death. It goes on to say more, but that is from the Passion Translation, was the second one. And the first one was from the NCV, New Century Version. Those are not usually versions of the Bible that I look at, but I really loved how they actually communicated this message. Wealth is quickly gained, is quickly wasted. Easy come, easy go. But if you gradually gain wealth, you will watch it grow. This is a verse that is communicating a theme of slow growth. God is saying you don't want to achieve everything overnight because it won't stick. Building something slowly, consistently, over time will actually produce the best results, the best reward, the best sense of success, and a strong foundation for something good. Not only is this verse communicating that building slow is a principle of God's way, it's also communicating that consistency is your superpower. Consistency is a superpower to achieving your dreams. It is a superpower to building self-discipline, which is a fruit of the Spirit, and to creating lasting change. Who, when they create a New Year's resolution, who says, I hope that I lose a bunch of weight and then I gain it right back? I hope that I become really good at running and then I stop and I lose everything I worked hard for. I hope that I can save money like I've been trying to do, and I save up a bunch of money and then I spend it all at once and I have nothing again. Who says things like that? None of us want to create goals that we, even if we reach them, that they fizzle out and die and we lose all of our progress. Nobody has a desire for that. And yet, that is what we do as a culture, as Americans. When we set New Year's resolutions, not only do we know that those things are probably going to die off before we even achieve them, but we know that if we do achieve them, the results will probably be gone by the end of the year because we couldn't sustain them. It's a widely accepted truth. and expectation for New Year's resolutions. And yet that is not what God wants for you. He is saying, I want you to have something that lasts. Easy come, easy go. The weight loss will come and then it'll go. The weight will come right back. The habit will come and then it'll fizzle out. God doesn't want that for you. He wants you to have things that are sustained, that can keep you going, that are going to be life to your bones and health to your body for a long time to come. God doesn't build things that fizzle out. He's here to do things that stay. This is God's design for progress. So when we think about what kind of goals we want to set, we need to start small. So when we have a goal in mind, what we need to do is actually make steps to get there. It all starts with the idea that, is it a wish or is it a goal? Because a wish is something that we think, oh, I wish that would happen, but we don't have any plan to do it. We don't have any desire to actually work towards it. We just wish that it was. But if we actually have a goal, then a goal comes with steps. We can say, I want to lose 20 pounds this year, but we need to actually create steps of how we get there. How are you going to lose the first 5 pounds? Before you run a mile, are you going to maybe start walking? Are you maybe going to start working on your core strength so that your back doesn't hurt when you walk or run? What needs to come beforehand? What are the steps leading up to that big goal? And then make the first step your goal for right now. That tiny, incremental, little thing needs to be your first goal. We need to start small and we need to keep it realistic. If we have a plan, then we'll be realistic about what it takes to get there. And then once we know what it will take to get there, our primary goal at all costs needs to be building consistency. We need to tell ourselves to show up all the time, even if it's not at 100%. This is where a lot of people fail. They think, I have to be 100 all the time. That also leads to failure, especially as women. Okay, let me tell you, men run on a 24-hour cycle with their hormones. They are basically the same day to day. Yes, they have moods, they have things that they're dealing with, maybe different energy levels here and there, but for the most part, they're running on the same 24-hour cycle. Every day hormonally looks the same for them. As women, our hormones change at least 4 times throughout the month. We have 4 different hormonal cycles, and we change our energy levels and our motivation through each of those cycles. We change what we're capable of, how much weight we're able to lift, how far we're able to run. As women, we have tried to defeminize ourselves because we wanted to fit into a world that many years ago used to be very masculine. Women didn't used to work. They didn't used to run businesses. And now women do those things. We stepped into that world and we had to defeminize ourselves in order to be in a masculine world. And I get it. I mean, women have the right to that. Women should work. I mean, be a boss babe. I am all for that. Absolutely. But we can't do it at the expense of our femininity. We can't do it at the expense of casting off the way that God designed us. Trying to be 100 all the time will be a detriment to your health because you weren't created to operate that way. There are times of the month where we run at 120% and it is no problem. And for high achievers like me, we love it. We're like, can I just sustain 120 all the time? Because I would love to run like this all the time. And I beat myself up sometimes when I can't run at 120 because I know that I'm capable of it. But just because I'm capable of it, in that 5-day period, in that week period, doesn't mean that I'm going to be capable of it all month long. And when I start to learn how my body operates, how my hormones fluctuate, how my energy levels change throughout the month, then I can start to work with those instead of against them. And I can learn to have grace on myself, and I can learn to take advantage of the times of the month where I am at my best, I'm at my peak, and then I can give myself some grace and pull back in those times of the month where I need to be a little more slow, a little more chill, when I need to maybe operate at like 60%. And it can be okay. So showing up 100% is sometimes what kills us, especially as women. It sabotages our goals. But what we need to know is that we can show up consistently without always being at 100%. Some days we're going to show up to work out and we're going to feel it. We're like 5%. Like we're barely doing the moves. We're maybe lifting like little tiny weights. Maybe we went with a girlfriend and we're actually talking to her more than we're actually doing any weightlifting. But it doesn't matter if you still made it to the gym. Does that make sense? Because here's why. Again, it goes back to that brain hack, that highway in your brain that is building consistency, that's building a road that is repeated over and over and over again. You know, I'm going to show up no matter what. I may show up at 10%. I may show up at 110%. But regardless, I'm going to show up. And that builds consistency. That trains your brain to take that same path over and over again. We get up and we go work out. We get up and we go work out. We get up and we go work out, regardless of how you feel. And that consistency will make it easier and easier and easier to stick with that goal in the long term, because you created a highway in your brain that is set up to do that on autopilot without you having to think about it or fight for it or work for it. It just is, because you've created that in your life. Okay, so starting small and being consistent will actually help you build longevity in your goals, even if it's eating well, working out, saving money, whatever your goal looks like. Being consistent is going to help you. So start small, always show up, regardless of what that looks like. Keep it realistic and build something that lasts. These tools are so important to building something that lasts. God doesn't want you to build something that's going to fizzle out. If He's speaking to you about this new year, He wants you to be able to invest in a way that you are going to see the results at the end of the year. You're going to look back with pride and so much trust that you've built in yourself, saying, look, I did it. It was up and down. It was hard some months. It was hard during summer break when my kids were out of school. It was hard when we were in the middle of the holidays. It was hard when I had all of these other things going on, but I stuck with it. I have the results from last year. I know I can do it. And now in the next year, I'm going to level up a little bit more because I know that I can do this. God loves slow. He loves slow progress. And I hate to break it to you, but I hate slow. I hate slow and I hate small. I hate small beginnings and I hate going slow, but God loves it. And if there is anything that I have learned, the more that I fight the slow, the more miserable I am, more discontented with my life because it's not moving at the pace that I wanted to. I'm more anxious because I'm trying to make it go fast and it's not happening. And I pour myself into efforts and projects that don't yield fruit because I'm trying to rush a slow process. It's like planting an apple tree. Apple trees, let's say you plant it from seed, it can take 6 to 10 years to produce apples. That is insane. Now, you don't usually start an apple tree from an apple, you start it from a cutting, but even then, it can still take 4 to 5 years to produce an apple. And if I have an apple tree that I plant today and all year I'm trying to get it to grow and produce fruit, and I'm super frustrated by the end of the year because it didn't produce fruit, I might rip that thing out of the ground and swear off ever trying to grow fruit trees again because I'm so frustrated that I didn't get the results that I wanted. But God's like, I didn't create it that way. It's a slow process. It's going to take longer than you think. But when it grows to maturity, it will produce fruit, and it's worth it to keep watering it, to keep protecting the plant from the elements, to keep fertilizing it, to keep pruning it, to keep making sure that it's strong, because one day, maybe not when you want it to, but one day when it's ready, when I've designed it to, it will produce fruit in its time. And so if I know that it's a slow process, then I will be patient and I will be at peace and I will enjoy the process. I will enjoy that little apple tree growing so strong month by month, year by year, because I know that something good is coming. But if I'm fighting the process, if I'm fighting the slow process, then I will be frustrated at that tree all the time. I will go out there and water it, and I will be like feeling scornful against it because I'll be like, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you going fast? Why aren't you producing the fruit that I want to see from you? God's ways are slow. If you look at the Bible, if you look at Moses or David or Joseph, all of those processes, the promise that they had on their life, all of those were slow. Like so slow. So slow, you might even think that at some point it's not going to happen. Going back to that verse, if we take a look at the New King James Version, Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when desire comes, it is a tree of life." The world will tell you that you can lose 20 pounds in a month, but depending on where your body is, maybe it's going to take you 6 months to lose 20 pounds. Sometimes that deferred hope can make you sick. It can feel like it's never going to happen. You're never going to get there. Maybe you've had a hope for years and it has not happened. And that hope deferred is making you sick. And God says, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to go slow. I know it's hard to be consistent when you're not seeing results. But let me tell you, it's worth it, because I'm building something in you that is bigger than this moment, that's bigger than just January, and it's bigger than just setting a goal right now that's going to fizzle out. I'm doing something in you that's going to be permanent. So stick with me, because when you get there, it will be a tree of life. I know that when I don't appreciate the process, it's because I'm fighting the growth. Some ways that I help myself in the middle of the process is that I set goals, but I don't become obsessed with the goals. They can be something that I integrate into my life, but they don't become the purpose of my life. They don't become the thing that I'm focused on every single day. I have a goal and I'm working towards it, but it's not overtaking my life. The next thing that is wildly helpful is to focus more on who you are becoming in the process. I have been hearing this over and over again from different people, different sources, but that God is not focused on the destination. When we get a promise from God, or when we have a goal set out in our heart, sometimes we're so focused on the destination and just getting there. But what we forget to do is to actually just be content and present in the process. And God is all about the process. He's like, the destination is just one stop along the road. There's going to be a lot of life before it, and there's going to be a road ahead of you after it. The destination, that thing that you're working towards, that dream that's in your heart, it's just a point. It's just a stop along the way in the life that God has for you. And He is so much more focused on who you are becoming in the process and not where you are in the process. We serve a God who is a God of eternity, and He is not worried about time. And God very often, most likely, most of the time, He works in a slow process. It doesn't mean that God can't move fast, because God does. He's a God of multiplication. He can make something happen in a minute. He can make a situation turn on a dime. He can do it. But God appreciates the slow. He appreciates the process, and He is more focused on who you are becoming than where you are going. And so if you want to find more peace in the process, focus on that. Focus on maybe not how much weight you lost this week, but how you felt when you worked out. Maybe you didn't suffer from brain fog. Maybe you were less anxious. Maybe you just sleep a lot better at night. Maybe you feel more patient with your kids. The weight loss will come, but focus on who you are becoming in the process. And that will help you sustain it to overcome disappointment and to continue doing the good work that God has started in you. And it will help you embrace the process, even when it's slow. Speaking of New Year's resolutions, this year, last month, after we started taking our break, I really started to uncover some things that I thought were going to be a really great plan for this year. I had this business idea that was incredible, and I started taking notes. I had all of these ideas and this inspiration, and it was just clicking. Everything was just like clicking right into place and making so much sense, and it just seemed like there was so much genius behind it. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm going to do in the new year. This is how I'm moving forward. I'm so excited. But God turned everything around for me. At the end of the month, right before we're coming into the new year, He started to shift things for me and to completely redefine how I was thinking about this year. I was ready to run at 120%, and He was like, hey, I want you to slow down. Your word for this year is rest. And I don't always get a word for the year. I've heard a lot of people do this, and there is something comforting and nice about it. I haven't always gotten a word over the year. Sometimes I can kind of look back and actually see a theme over the year and see, like, if I had to put a word to this year, I think this is the theme that God really had me in, and I can put a word to it. But I haven't always gotten a word at the beginning of the year. And so the fact that I got one this year without even really asking, because I was just like, I had my own plan and I was moving forward. The fact that God kind of stopped me in my tracks and forced this in front of me and said, pay attention to this. Your word for this year is rest. It really threw me for a loop. And it was really the reason why I delayed coming back on the podcast for a week, because I had to stop and really wrestle with that. It was so hard for me. Honestly, it's the thing that I know that I need, and yet it's the thing that I hate the most. Have you ever had those? You're like, I know that my good Father knows exactly what I need, and yet also at the same time, it feels like punishment. It feels like being put in the timeout corner. Like, this is not what I want to do. And there have been things about dreams that God has put in my heart and things that He's even called me into that have existed for years and years. And sometimes they feel so slow. Like, we couldn't be moving at more of a snail pace if we tried. And then to get something that says that we're going to go even slower feels so painful in a way. And so as I have been processing that and coming to terms with it and making peace with it in my heart, I've said, okay, God, I know that you have intention in this. I know that this is purposeful. This is not a season of nothingness, but it's a season to lean in and really hone in on the things where you want me to focus, where you want me to do a little bit less so that I can invest in something else more. And maybe even part of that is honestly just my mental health, my physical health, because rest is wildly helpful for balancing our hormones as women. And I feel like, especially if you're a high achiever like me, you really struggle with that. It can be so hard. But yeah, here God is. I know there's going to be so many layers of intention in the season of rest. But with that being said, there are some things that I am going to be pulling back on this year so that I can honor that call to rest in this year. I'm not doing nothing, but what I am doing is very intentional. It's very focused. It's very specific. And everything else is going to, by and large, get a no from me as much as possible so that we can still have a healthy family life and I can still, operate in the ways that God has called me to live in this season, but also to honor that call to rest. And so as we go forward in season 2, what that looks like is that I am actually going to start doing 1 episode a week instead of 2. I know this episode, I can already tell from the recording, it's going to be longer. I really don't love to do 1-hour recordings because it is a little more work for me, but that's not really my intention behind it. My belief is that as busy moms, you have a lot going on. And sometimes dedicating your attention to a whole hour of something can feel a little overwhelming. And I really like to create small, kind of bite-sized conversations that you can do maybe while you're running errands and you're listening in the car. Around the 30-minute mark, I feel like is kind of a sweet spot. It's long enough for an in-depth conversation, but not so long that it's going to overtake your day or you feel like you have to come back to it a separate day and you don't really remember everything that was said in the first part of the conversation. It's just a little more realistic as mamas. It's just a little more realistic for us to tune in and really be present in like a 30-minute episode or maybe less than to have something long and drawn out. And so I hope whenever I do a 1-hour episode, I hope that it is valuable to you. And I hope that you are sitting here nodding along saying, yes, I needed that. It was so Holy Spirit inspired. I'm so glad I showed up for this and I invested my whole hour in this episode because it was so good. But I don't want to carry that on a regular basis. So I'm going to kind of keep it a little bit more short, but we are going to do 1 episode a week, which will come out on Thursdays. And every once in a while, I might have a bonus episode that I come out with on a Friday. I am going to be focusing more on quality than quantity. And because I am focused on quality, I want to make sure that the episodes that I am giving you are really high quality and really in tune with what you want to hear. And so I want to invite you to please let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what will help you. What are you struggling with right now? What have you seen in mainstream media about health and wellness that you've really questioned or that you feel confused about? Or, you're just like, I just wish I could really have some help in this area. Tell me what you want to hear. You can go onto my website. I will put a link below this show for you to go directly there. But if you go to my website, chavawellness.com, you can go to the podcast tab and then go to ask a question. Whether it's a question or a comment, you can either leave me a voice message or you can just type it out and send me a written message and let me know how you want to invest in your health this year, whether it is physical, mental, or spiritual, because that's what we're here for in holistic wellness. We're here for the whole you, mama. And so I want to know how I can show up and answer your questions, support you in your wellness journey, and empower you to step into the wellness that God has for you. You can also get on my email list because I hate spamming. I hate spammy, useless emails. I honestly send one out every week when a new episode comes out to let you know what it's about. If I have a special sale, which maybe happens like twice a year, you will get notifications about that and access to those sales that I do not blast anywhere else on social media. I might mention it on here, but I really don't give out all the details anywhere other than my email list, because I know that if you're on my email, you're here for it. You're invested in your health. You want that information. And so I'm going to give it to you. Other than that, we haven't really been doing much. I did like a favorite food Friday in December. If you guys loved that, let me know. I kind of let it fizzle out at the end of December, but if you loved that and you want me to keep doing it, let me know. Other than that, I really don't send very many emails, but what I do will be valuable to you and to your walk and your wellness. So that's what this new season is going to look like. I am so excited to dive into, I'm not going to call it a series, but we are going to be talking about some really big health topics. And we're going to start off with weight loss, because healthy weight loss is not what the world has told you that it is or what it's supposed to be. Healthy weight loss in God's design is so different than what he's actually talking about. And so I want to dive into that with you and really just uncover what that means to lose weight in a healthy way as a woman, as a mama, because it is hard. It is hard. And it is not easy to stick to wellness as a mama and to really just bust through the confusion that tends to overwhelm us from all the different opinions that people have out there about what wellness looks like. So we're going to be talking about weight loss and the things that come with that, like fasting and detoxing and working out and all the ups and downs of what that looks like as a healthy mama. So if you have a friend who has not joined these conversations with us on Tired Mommy Revival, please make sure to like the podcast, share it with a friend, and also if you can leave a comment or a review, I appreciate that so much. Let me tell you, I am not talking about health in the way that the world is talking about health. And so it actually makes it harder for people to find this channel because I'm not doing what the algorithm expects of me. And I do that on purpose because we're here for something different. We're here to bust the myths of the world's way of doing health and do it God's way. And if that's valuable to you and you think you have a friend who would love to hear this too, please invite them to join us. I would love to have them a part of this community. And I cannot wait to jump into these amazing conversations that are coming up soon. I will talk to you soon, Mama. Be blessed.